DETV Sports Update is powered by DART, Delaware's transit service. Moving forward.
And welcome in to another edition of DETV Sports here on Monday, June 10th. We are 2 games into the NBA Finals, but even into bigger news, we are now welcomed back here by Jason McCall as we're all joining in here remotely this evening. Jason, been an eventful week. Last time we talked here on the air, basically before we went on the air, we were all getting ready to come to the show on Monday night on North Market Street there at our studio in Wilmington. You had bigger things to take care of. Welcoming Deuce into the world, of course, you and your family. How's everything going over there in the last week? How you feeling? And great that you're able to join us tonight.
Man, it's good to be back in the comfort of own home right now. Deuce is officially a week old as of today. He was supposed to enter the world on June 6th, but he said, not so fast, my friend. I'm ready to come out now. So that 24 hours was really crazy from me graduating with my degree the day before. And then that very next night, holding him in my arms. So I literally had the greatest one-day run ever and the greatest week ever. So I'm extremely blessed. The smile is permanently on my face now. I'm just happy, man. Like just everything's coming together. I'm just living life, loving my wife, loving this new phase that we're in together, and embracing everything that comes with it. Yeah?
Very well put. Again, welcoming in another youngster to the DETV Sports family. Can't wait to meet him. We can't wait to get him on the air and get some of his hot takes here as we get into some of the
he'll
sports
have
stuff. I'm sure he'll be ready to go. But unfortunately tonight there will be no Matthew Maurer. He actually is taking care of some family stuff on his end. So our prayers up to Matthew. No Matthew tonight, but of course taking care of some bigger issues, of course, for him personally as well. So we miss Matthew, but welcoming Jason back, of course, here, and then hopefully all of us can get together, hopefully next weekend as well, back to the Big Three, and Dennis, of course, next Monday. But even more impressive, Jason, as we were going through it last week, you said you were able to catch the show at the hospital. How about that? How are you able to do that? Huh? That was pretty nice.
Yeah, man, waiting in the pre-op room, see what was going on. So I happened to turn the phone, turn my phone back on, put it on Facebook Live, and watch the show. And I saw you incorrectly say Mavs in 7, and I commented
we had
Celtics,
5 minutes into the show. I knew it was coming soon,
and I commented Celtics in 6. So we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, I'm again not going to change it. We'll dive into the finals here in a few minutes. Not changing my pick, but I will tell you, I do not feel good about what I said last week. Of course, I was over somewhere in Charlotte, North Carolina over the weekend with a bunch of Bostonians, a huge group watching that game, and they saw the show. They did not like my prediction either. They let me hear about it all day, especially during the game when Boston went up by, I believe, 20 to 25 points in that one. They take care of business in game 2 as well. So it was a tough weekend for me, with all the C's fans.
Yeah, that take was wicked. That take was wicked. It was wicked.
Yeah, and again, made a little side bet with them. If the Celtics were able to sweep the Mavericks, we may have to bring one of them on the show.
I'll take a piece of that action. What's the buy-in on that? What's the buy-in on that? We'll talk offline. What's the buy-in on that?
Hey, I said, listen, he said if the Celtics sweep, got to bring me on to talk about it. And I said, they ain't sweeping. And he said, if they do. And I said, all right, then. I said, if they sweep, I'll bring you on. I said, I'll have you and Jason educate me on what I missed coming in into my analysis into the NBA Finals. But let's dive into it, Jason, and talk about your Celtics because they have been borderline phenomenal, right? They had the long break. Everybody kind of gave them a tough time about coming up through the Eastern Conference playoffs. A lot of stars on those teams out due to injury. They played. But going back to the regular season, and as we talked about, they are one of the best teams, if not the best team statistically, almost in NBA history, both offensively and defensively. They have been phenomenal all regular season long, though they maybe not got the matchups that would have shown that or proved that in the playoffs. They're coming up here in the finals, 2 big games to start. Word from the team coming into game 1 was that they have been in a fantastic mindset. They were ready to go, and that perfectly showed. Game 1 was an absolute blowout. Porzingis making his return. He looked absolutely phenomenal in that game. I mean, it was all Boston. Then you go back to game 2. Last night, Dallas got the lead early in that first quarter. Boston took the lead in quarter number 2 and kind of rode that the rest of the way. A late run by Dallas in the fourth quarter, but really to no avail as Boston was able to put him away. A huge play by Derek White. So Boston, of course, gets that win last night in game 2, 105-98. I just want to quickly, before we dive into this a little bit deeper, your initial thoughts on the first 2 games of the series. You obviously had the Celtics in 6. What did you like about this matchup for your Boston Celtics coming in against Dallas, and what have you seen through 2 games?
I like the fact that our backcourt makes the other team defend. And we know that Luka and Kyrie's strong suits are not defense. So you have guard play with our starters and with our bench that makes them defend. And I call Tatum a big guard, though he's a small forward, power forward hybrid. I call him a big guard, because he has guard-like skills. So I would say that he's a big guard, but also when you throw in Drew Holiday and Derek White, and you bring in Peyton Pritchard off the bench. Like the Celtics have had one of the best benches, if not the best bench in basketball, probably the last 3 or 4 years running. So those bench players have been with the team more than one season. So the bench has gelled more and been together longer than the starters have. So it's a seamless process when they come into the game. And I saw that our scorers aren't one-dimensional. Tatum can score from anywhere on the court. Jaylen Brown score anywhere on the court. And then you add in Porzingis. Now he's really his offense, but he's a great offensive talent. But Porzingis is a floor spacer on offense, and he's a great on-ball defender with his shot blocking and moving his feet, staying in front of his man. So that's what I saw going in. And Dallas doesn't have any shooters outside of Luka and Kyrie. You have a streaky PJ Washington, but other than that, you don't really have any shooters on that team. And they're not playing Tim Hardaway Jr. for some reason, which doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not playing Derrick Jones Jr. over Tim Hardaway Jr. at this point. He doesn't give you what Tim Hardaway can give you. Tim Hardaway is another person who can create off the ball, and he's a shooter. Once he gets hot, he gets hot. So I'm not understanding the rotations right now for Dallas, to be honest.
And again, coming in, the thing that stood out to me through the first 2 games was, as you mentioned, I think it's Boston defensively. You talked about the return of Porzingis. He now can anchor that middle of the paint. He can, as you mentioned, guard out on the perimeter as well. They can space you out on offense all 5 ways. But watching Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and Drew Holiday with that perimeter defense, that one-on-one defense that they've been able to provide has been unbelievable. Watching the sequences last night with Kyrie, maybe one of the most skilled ball handlers, if not the most skilled ball handler in the league, going up one-on-one against Jaylen Brown. He couldn't get anything, no inches, could get no separation. The one play early on turned into a travel call. He forced that turnover. No matter who it was, whether it was Holiday, White, or Brown, whoever got that switch onto Kyrie was really able to slow him down. I think that was kind of the game plan coming in. You heard Boston say, Luka can't beat us by himself, and he literally can. He was phenomenal. 32, 11, and 11, 4 steals, the 8 turnovers we'll talk about in a little bit. Of course, he brought that up after the game. You can't win with those. He had some bad turnovers in that game. But Boston defensively was phenomenal pretty much everywhere else on the floor. We saw the block late from Derek White in that game. I mean, Jaylen Brown, as I mentioned, has been lights out on that end of the floor. Also has been great offensively. So the defense has really stood out to me. And we talk about who you would maybe name the MVP after 2 games. And I think Drew Holiday's name might be number 1 in this conversation. Last night, not only was he phenomenal on the defensive end, which you can come to expect each and every time he takes the floor, 26 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists. He shot 11 of 14 from the field and led them in scoring last night. If you're getting that kind of contribution, we go back to last summer, right, when Damian Lillard was the hot topic. He finally won it out. Who was going to get Dame Lillard? That was the big conversation and what that could do for a team. And Milwaukee decided that that's what they wanted to do. They won that championship a few years ago with Drew Holiday and Giannis. They said, you know what? We think Lillard was going to fit us long-term, I guess, more for the final part of his career here in the Eastern Conference. They make that trade. They send Drew Holiday to Portland. And when you make that deal, you know that he's not going to be a Trailblazer. He's going to be flipped somewhere else. So they know very well that Boston was going to be one of the teams that had the assets to go get him. They knew that, and they were willing to do that anyway. So not only do you lose Drew Holiday, yes, you get Dame Lillard, didn't work out for Milwaukee this year, but you also end up giving one of the most important players in the league at any position, if not the best perimeter defender in the league, one of the best leaders, a championship, a winner, He goes to Boston in one of the greatest off seasons for Brad Stevens and any NBA team, in my opinion, in recent memory. And he has made such a difference, Jason, and he could be the MVP through the first 2 games.
I mean, as of right now, he is the MVP of this series so far, and and that's going to continue for him. Drew Holiday is a proven winner. People act like Drew Holiday he's always been athletic. I mean, he was a Gatorade Player of the Year in high school.
Sixers drafted him, first-round pick.
Sixers drafted him. I still don't understand the draft day trade 2014.
Oh, yeah, we can't talk about that right now.
Nerlens Noel for Drew Holiday.
Time on another episode.
The dumbest trade I've seen. One of the Sixers have done some dumb trades in the last 10 years, but that was the main one. That started everything. That was the process era, so we can't even really fault them for that too much. But yeah, Drew's been this guy. Like Drew's been a scorer, he's been a defender, he's been a glue guy. He fits whatever role you need, and that's what's so valuable about his game and his skill set. He's literally, if we were comparing him as a baseball player, a center fielder, he would be a five-tool player. So that's what he is on the basketball court. He's literally a five-tool player, can do everything, and he can guard 1 through 5. Like when you have a 6'5" guy guarding your center, that's saying a lot, and is not give up any room too much. No, that's sign of a great defender, a great player, and everybody, we lost Marcus Smart, but we got a better player. He's everything Marcus Smart was, but better, scoring and defensively. So there was no drop off, only upgrade. Then when you steal Porzingis from DC, everybody was out on Porzingis because of his injury history. But we all know that when he's healthy, look at his early days in New York and the season last year in Washington. When he's healthy, he's a unicorn, for a reason. So it just didn't work out in Dallas. That's really it.
And coming in, the game plan, was kind of thinking if they put Drew Holiday on Kyrie and you kind of maybe shut him down, make Luka and everybody else beat you, and they have been unable to do it. Drew Holiday defense on Kyrie has been phenomenal here through the first couple of games. We're going to talk about Kyrie, more so here in a second. 35 blow-bys last night for the Boston Celtics, Jason. That is the most by any team in a decade in terms of a playoff run here. 35 blow-bys. And obviously, when we talk about the Celtics, they can drive and dish, but they're a three-point shooting team. Joe Mazzulla is not going to hide that. They love to put up 3 balls. That's kind of what the offense in some ways revolves around. And last night was not their night. 10 of 39, I believe it was, beyond the arc. I'll have to double check that stat, or Dennis can for us here in a second. But they were able to do that, shoot that poorly in one of their strong parts of their game during the regular season and even in the playoffs, and then still win this game by 7 points, which you would argue wasn't a great performance for Boston. We'll talk a little bit about that. We mentioned the blow-bys, 35. Kyrie has been pretty good defensively throughout this playoff run for Dallas. The team has been great as a team defensively once they made that trade for Washington and Gafford, one of the best teams defensively the second half of the season. Kyrie has had a really good playoff run, as I mentioned, but in the finals through the first 2 games, as Kyrie as the primary defender, 11 for 16, 27 points against Kyrie. So they're kind of targeting him now defensively, making him pay for it. And then Luka allowed 13 blow-bys himself. That is the most by any player this year in a game last night. So the defense, which has been good from Kyrie and Luka during this playoff run, and even during the second half of the season, has not been there here through the first 2 games of the year. Kyrie struggling both offensively and defensively he's here so far in the first 2.
I mean, I can't put this all on Kyrie.
It's hard to put it all on Kyrie, but when you look at it, and when Luka, maybe we talked about this in the beginning. You could argue Luka would be the best player in the series, correct?
No.
We can't even agree on that. Well, who do you think's the best player? I'm saying before the series coming in, who would you have said was the best player in the series?
Tatum.
I disagree. I'm going to say Luka, but either way, if we're talking about the Mavericks and the Mavericks having a chance to win, wouldn't you argue that Kyrie would have to be either the second or third best player in the series to go along with Luka? He hasn't been in the top 5.
Yeah, he has to be, and he should have been, and he probably still will be. But the thing with this series is this: they're too dependent on Luka and Kyrie, and this is the problem that Dallas Mavericks have always had. They've always been a top-heavy team. Even when they won their championship in 2011, they were a top-heavy team. I mean, you had Dirk, and then you had, I think the second best player on the team was the Jet, Jason Terry. So
I think so.
I mean, so they've always
Jason
been
Kidd,
top
maybe?
heavy at the guard position, then have a bunch of like same height, big 6'10", 6'11", like they have now. It's no surprise how well Gafford and Lively are playing when you have Tyson Chandler coaching them every day behind the scenes, so no surprise in that. But again, as we mentioned off the air, outside of Luka and Kyrie, they have no shooters. This is what's rears its ugly head. Dallas has to hit threes early and get hot and then make teams play inside out because, Luka and Kyrie can drive past, when you say blow-bys, they can do that same thing to the other team. So, like, they're two of the best players with the ball in their hands. And like I said earlier, Kyrie is the greatest ball handler of all time. I'll down that hill too. I've seen too much of him throughout his career to be otherwise. But they don't have, like Shaq always says, they don't have the others that they usually have. You don't see, that third or fourth player coming that can give you a consistent 12 to 16 every game. They don't have the matrix anymore. They don't have a few years ago, they don't have like a Reggie Bullock type of player who's 3 and D, and you can get a good four or five threes a game. Like they don't have those type of players anymore. And again, they're not playing Tim Hardaway Jr., who can provide them that. They're playing Derrick Jones Jr. instead, which doesn't make any ounce of sense to me.
And I mean, just one final note on Drew Holiday, the most points in an NBA Finals now without a turnover. He's had 38 consecutive points without turning it over. That is a finals record for Drew Holiday. Again, just making his case, maybe as of through the first two games, a chance to take home that finals MVP, which would be something here. But again, it's early. It is just two games, but Boston has looked like the far superior team, I will say, through the first two games of the finals. Just again, to quickly talk about the Mavs before we close this out, and then we'll hear what you want to hear or what you want to see and from Boston if they're going to close it out the rest of the way. But I do think they need more out of Kyrie. He has to be the second or third best player on the floor scoring wise. The Mavs are going to have any chance in this series. He has not been through the first two games. And again, like Jason said, if he's not going to give you 20 or more, you need PJ Washington to have one of those signature games where he can hit 6 threes from the corner, or Maxi Kleber or some of these other guys are going to have to step up. And it has not been there, at least to this point, in Boston. Maybe the Mavs will get it going back in Dallas. It's interesting too, because the game two of the playoffs for Boston has been their weak game, right? Throughout some of these series, game twos have been
Every
tough.
series,
They've
yeah.
lost a lot. I wouldn't want to say almost every game two.
Every game too, yeah.
And then you look on the other side, Jason. The crazy part is Dallas has won every game two in their playoff run. So you thought last night was maybe what was going to give. Dallas should have won that game. From what we've seen historically this year in the playoffs, Dallas hasn't lost a game two. Boston hasn't won a game two. Well, that switched last night, and that makes me even more nervous for Dallas going forward.
And I want to tell everybody that Boston's undefeated on the road in the playoffs this year. Just letting everybody know that.
See how he said that and smiled right after as they have a 2-0 lead heading into Dallas.
But I was happy about last night's game, obviously. But for some reason I felt Drew was gonna have a big game, and so I wore that black jersey last night, the Drew Holiday one with the patch. I got it in Boston late last year, and I said I'm saving this for the finals, and I pulled it out the closet last night, put it on, and
worked.
He proved me right. So I'm happy about that, man.
Well, again, Dallas going to have to figure something out. We'll see kind of adjustments, they make all that Luka talk, coming into the series or after game one, a lot of, misinformation trying to be thrown there. Jason Kidd calling Jaylen Brown the best player, a lot of mind tricks, Dallas breaking out after game one. It didn't work.
It's not going to work. And another point about Dallas, we'll be going to the next segment. What's happening in the finals is what Matt and I saw when they first acquired Kyrie last season. You have two very ball dominant players who like to close out games, and they're still figuring out who the actual closer is.
It's worked through this.
Yeah, it's worked.
They've been great at going back and forth.
But that's regular season. Yeah, we got to the finals because they were blowing teams out. But now it's like, okay, when it's really crunch time and teams focusing on you, and they had the defenders to do so, now you're seeing what the real problem is. And honestly, Luka has to play more off the ball for them to win any game.
I think they're going to. I think
Kyrie has to.
I think both of them.
But Kyrie has to be the primary primary distributor. I think.
I would even have somebody else bring the ball, maybe a PJ White. I would have both of them potentially off the ball. They can't get any separation with the ball in their hands.
Well, Kyrie is the better spot up shooter, so yeah. So
And he's 0 of 8 here so far in the finals beyond the arc. Tough go around.
that'll change him. The
Yeah, agreed.
rim's
Yeah.
tight in Boston, and and that's calmer for him stepping on Lucky when he was with the Brooklyn Nets.
Oh,
So
yeah, that's man.
so he earned that.
And so, and again, I think I have this stat correct too, Jason, and maybe you know it. I believe Kyrie has not won a game at the Garden since that moment. I think he is 0
and 12.
0 and 12. Ooh.
0 and
So
12.
that stat lives. It keeps going on, even through last night.
He was 0 and 11 going in last night, so now it's 0 and 12 since that incident.
Yep. Someone's going to have to change. We'll see what it is going forward there. But Kyrie going to need a little bit more. But again, is there anything you think Boston has to do? I mean, they're doing everything right so far. Is there anything you would say or look to what they have to do to close this thing out?
Yes, Boston has to be more efficient on the perimeter, shooting the 3-ball. And
I think they will.
But they have to limit. So Boston has a propensity to turn the ball over at a high clip. We've seen it over the years. They worked on it and is doing well. But Boston also has to not get into those offensive lulls in the third quarter. Mm-hmm. Third quarter is usually where teams can kind of come back on Boston. But Boston, the Achilles heel has been closing out games the last couple of years. But this season and even playoff run right now, they've corrected that mistake. So they just have to continue to close out games the way they've been doing so. I mean, even back to the Indiana series, they were down like 8, like a minute and a half to go, ended up winning the game. Like stuff like that, you can't teach. It just has to happen. Experience is the best teacher. So learning from our mistakes and correcting things, just continue to be consistent. And I originally said Celtics in 6. But if Tatum gets hot, scoring wise, along with the defense that we're already playing, I'm not gonna get the brooms out just yet. If Tatum gets hot and they still play the way everybody else is playing, could be a different story. But I'll stick with Celtics in 6 right now.
Could be. Celtics are off to a fantastic start, trying to hang another banner at the Garden. Well, they're on the right path so far. They've looked really good. Again, game 3 coming up a little bit later on this week. It'll be Wednesday night as the series turns now back to Dallas. We'll see if one of those guys can step up. A PJ Washington, you need some of these role players, as we mentioned, for Dallas to step up, or maybe Kyrie has a big game. Luka's been playing well, some bad turnovers, but somebody else, as we said, going to have to help Dallas if they want to make this thing at least close. Boston has been fantastic. They take a 2-0 lead here in the finals. Quickly before we move on, one last part of the final segment here, Jason, is least amount of viewership in the last 5 years of an NBA finals here with Boston and Dallas. Any thoughts on that and the reasoning you might think behind it?
I do not care. I think it's because, one, the great European hype is not in the finals. Jokic.
But you got Doncic.
He's not on levels like he's not on level as Jokic as far as the MVPs and trying to make him the face of the league and all that good stuff. And because Kyrie's playing. Kyrie still has that stigma on him with the anti-Semitic viewpoints and the anti-vax standpoint. But he was in Brooklyn. So I think that's throwing a monkey wrench into the viewership. But also the fact that the Celtics are in it again. Like a lot of people really don't like the Celtics. That's put out there. They don't like the Celtics. They would rather have had the Knicks. The Knicks were the feel-good story of the league this year. And, rightfully so. I mean, the NBA is happy when New York is good. So those factors. And you don't have a LeBron or a Steph or usual suspect, the old guard. League is changing hands. True. So
it's weird without one of those guys playing the fun.
It's fine with me.
Well, let's stick with basketball, and we are talking about Boston. Let's head now to the West Coast over to LA. Lakers were turned down today by Danny Hurley, a 6-year, $70 million deal over the weekend, which some thought that would be it. They were luring him in for a big contract. They really wanted him. Of course, apparently he was the guy they've wanted all along. Danny Hurley, though, going to stick with the opportunity to go for back-to-back-to-back national championships. He cited the history of going 3 times in a row. Part of the reasoning, he will be staying in UConn. I don't think this ever had a chance. I know a lot of people brought it up over the weekend, and there was a lot of the hype train and part of it. I kind of view it as a ploy to get more money out of UConn. I don't think Danny Hurley ever had any intentions of going to the Lakers. Either way, it's not going to work out that way for LA or Hurley. What did you think about this whole thing? Did you think maybe that was the right move? Would you have done the same thing if you were a Genie Bus? And what do you think of Hurley's decision?
Hurley's smart. Lakers are ass. Like they're ass. Like
Noob show. We're live.
Hey, people know what they are. They're ASS. And the way the roster is constructed, no coach in their right mind wants to take that deal. Like the money, all money ain't good money, and that ain't good money right now. When you have to deal with LeBron's ego and their GM, all that good stuff, you don't want that. And you got Anthony Davis, and then that's it. Then you got Clutch Sports hanging in the background, running team.
That's right. Where's Matthew when you need him for the Clutch Sports?
You can't function in an environment like that. Then you have the drama that comes with being the coach of like a Lakers team or a Knicks team or any big market, team, and their roster it's not good, and they don't have any first round draft picks for the next 3 or 4 years. Like the ones they have, they're not even fully protected. So it's like you're not gonna get a top 10 pick if you're coaching the Lakers.
And Jason, I don't know if you said you saw the show last week. Did you hear my big speech, my big plea to get LeBron to the Sixers?
I think he's gonna go there. I mean,
okay. Now we're talking.
I think that looks. If I were LeBron, that would be the logical place because he can save his body.
You.
He can save his body in the regular season, Eastern Conference. And you pair him with a Embiid and a Maxey. It almost happened a couple of years ago. So this isn't. It's not a foreign or far-fetched idea. LeBron entertained Philly twice already.
I agree. Matthew wasn't as into it as you and I have been. I said starting last week, I'm going to do it at every show, and we're going to clip and make a montage at the end of free agency and see if we can get him. This is week number 2. Week number 2, Jason. We look at the camera and we say, LeBron, here we go. We need you. Come on over to Philly. We got Max. We got Embiid.
That's your team. My team's fine. That's your team.
No, I know. Well, your team's fine. I'm saying we got to plead. We got to put it out there each and every week so that
no. We as French, I don't have to do that. But honestly, I would say I wouldn't. So LeBron would be a great fit, but there are other great fits who are younger. That's
Matthew's point last week.
I like Brandon Ingram in Philly.
I think that was Matthew's number. I think that might have been. I gave him some guys, so I'll give you the same thing, and you can rank them 1 through 4 in terms of free agency for the Sixers specifically. Okay, LeBron James, Paul George, Jimmy Butler, and Brandon Ingram. 1 through 4, go.
Ingram, George, LeBron, Jimmy.
Close to what Matthew. I think Matthew just had LeBron. I think Matthew had LeBron last, Jimmy third, but almost the same list.
Honestly, though, if we're talking about money, I wouldn't sign LeBron or Jimmy for the money that they're going to command because you're getting older players for young money.
Well, Paul George and Jimmy got to be, I would say 33 and 32, maybe almost the same.
But Jimmy has playoff mileage, NBA Finals mileage. He has Coach Tom Thibodeau mileage. That's a whole different thing.
How many years do you think he has, at peak Butler performance, which he didn't have this year? He was hurt again this year.
Jimmy only got 3 years left, period.
You think 3? I think 3's being a little bit generous. I mean, I love Jimmy Butler. Always been a big fan. I think 2 years, definitely. I think you can maybe have a 3rd year, but 3 years, he'll be 36.
Like Jimmy's not D Wade, and that's who that's who he's modeled his game after for obvious reasons. Marquette, and then playing the Bulls and watching, that's really his comp. You want to talk about player comp, if you will. The slasher, defender, but the difference is D Wade still had a decent jumper towards the end. Jimmy still doesn't have that past 17 feet, and it shows in the playoffs. It shows when he can't get his game off. Like he's the most superstar of all time.
I'm telling you, I still say it to this day. That best shot they had was back in 2019. the Kawhi shot with Toronto, that buzzer beater in Game 7. I'm telling you, they win that game. They could have, you hate to say it, but that was their best shot to win a championship when they had Redick and Butler and Simmons all that
Yeah,
year.
Matt's chiming in. Jimmy's about to be Mr. Brink. I got my Facebook Live on too. Yeah, he's about to back the truck up for Jimmy. Wherever he goes, he's gonna get top dollar.
They said he was going to get an extension if the Sixers were to trade for him. They would give him the extension, so it could be. We'll see.
Y'all signed Tobias Harris over me.
That's going to go down in history. Man, what a time.
But honestly, now if I had to pick somebody, like if I feel like perfect fit, the perfect fit again for me would be Brandon Ingram, only because he's younger. He's a shooter.
Let me ask you this, Jason, and this is what my point of view is. How many years do you think, and not just of age, because you would say a lot if you're looking specifically at age, how many years do you think Joel Embiid has at MVP level?
I think MVP level's done.
You think it's so you're already saying it's done?
Like, no, because his body, man.
Well, that's my point, and that's what I've been saying for years. We sat here on the desk last year. I brought up just the thing to you and Matt about maybe they should think about trading him, and I was beaten down on the desk.
Yeah, because you still have to keep him on the team. Like he's still like a focal point, but he's not.
I agree.
He's a focal point. He's not the focal point.
So then, but that's my question: is you talked about the body. You said MVP level's gone. You're just hoping for above average the next couple of years.
No. See, that's the thing. In today's NBA, he's a big man. He's going to be above average either way.
I agree.
That's
and how about? And you think he can say that for what, 3 years? You think 3 to 4 years?
Yeah. I think he's Matt's dumb. Never mind. He didn't mean Brink's truck for something else. He's trying to talk about LA. He talking about the Sparks.
For her.
Yeah, man.
But let me tell you though, and again, I mean, I think that, and that's why I'm sticking with LeBron. He is the best player right now. He can still do it all. He can give you 2 to 3 years, which I think they're on the same. As crazy as it sounds, they might be on the same timeline.
But here's the thing: the Sixers had to build up. Maxey is the best player on the team now. That's been proven.
So you're ready to say that right now.
Maxey is
the best big Maxey guys hung out. Friend of the show, Tyrese Maxey. But
Maxey is the best player on that Sixers roster. Maxey is probably going to average 30 a game.
So you're saying one game right now, you take Maxey over Embiid?
Yeah.
You need to win one game? Okay.
Yeah. And I think Max is going to average 30 next season.
Oh, if he averages 30, we're on to something. We all have been saying it. Keep Maxey. I know none of us wanted to put Maxey in that trade for Lillard an off season ago. Looking like the right move. Right now, having him back on the roster. I think LeBron would be a perfect fit, though, with Embiid and Maxey. Maxey can be his Kyrie Irving, if you will, get the ball out of his hands when he needs to relax, initiate the offense. Embiid will be that Anthony Davis for him, that big man that can do it all underneath.
That's it. That's what I'm saying. Like, he can play at that kind of level. Like, Embiid doesn't have to average 30 a game anymore for them to win. And that's what the Sixers
if they get LeBron.
No,
I'll give you any of those guys, any of those four guys.
No, even if they don't get any of those guys, as long as Embiid averages 20, like around 20 and 10, they're gonna be fine. It's the East. Hell, it's the NBA.
It's the East, but that's when now we're talking. We're watching. It looks like one of the best offense or best teams overall we've seen in years in Boston.
I mean, forget the East. It's the NBA. There are no real big men. So when you have a great one, he's a great big man. Like, yeah, he's probably the most offensively skilled big man in the league. Like, everybody praises the Joker, but if I'm talking about offensively, I'm taking Embiid over any other center. If they're talking about just offense.
Oh, I'm with you. And again, just an overall viewpoint here. We talked about how good Boston is, right? Everybody said the same stuff about Denver last year after they won it. Huge favorites coming into this year. And then obviously we see Boston on their way to winning one. So you never know. It's not guaranteed, no matter how good you are, that you're going to get back to that point.
But Denver was a one-hit wonder. Boston's been in this conversation in the last 8 years.
Well, Denver's been in conference fine. They started their run, not to that extent, but
yeah, but it's still a one-hit wonder.
But they have the win now. If Boston wins, I think they'll take a leg up, but I think they're relatively close.
But see, like when I think about Denver, I think about Denver's bench. They really don't have a good one.
Well, that's why they're at home right now.
That's why they're sitting at home watching.
Yeah. And again, just for the Boston, they talked about their depth. They're only playing 8 guys in that game last night, and with Pritchard and Hauser off the bench, and The starters taking care of business. All had phenomenal games offensively. Didn't have to use much of that depth in that game last night. Again, Boston is such a good team that they can adapt to almost anything. If you want to play slow, if you want to play fast, obviously they want to shoot the three, but if the three's not falling, they can beat you like they did and take it to the bucket. I mean, they can just, that's what makes them so good, is that they can adapt both offensively and defensively to almost anything you throw at them. Again, when they're playing defense, all five guys, they can switch everything. They can switch everything on defense. When you got maybe the best defensive backcourt, obviously in the NBA today, it's been thrown around historically. I want to get your opinion on that. What do you think of the defensive backcourt there? And I heard last night Mike Breen allude on the broadcast. He thought they were the best defensive backcourt maybe in history.
Nah, I won't give them that. I watched Ron Harper and MJ lock people down in Chicago. You know, I watched
different story.
I watched Gary Payton and Hersey Hawkins lock down people out in Seattle. I watched Isaiah and Joe D in Detroit. Like they're not there yet. They have to win. They're not there yet. Like those are defensive backcourts to me. If we're going to talk about defensive backcourts, they're great, but they're not there yet. Like that's too lofty too soon.
But again, this was to close out the segment, as I will from every week until free agency ends. LeBron, come to the Sixers. One player away. You could be that guy. Bring Bronny if you want. We'll take him too.
No,
I'll do it. I don't care.
Bronny better go to New Zealand or something, man. He needs to develop his game for the
Come
year.
to the Blue Coats. We'd love to check you out every week. We'll be able to interview him there before the games. Sounds nice, Jason. It sounds nice. LeBron, we'll see you at the Fargo Center, or at the center, as now we call it, in Philly next year. So week number 2, LeBron, we need you. And of course, I'll be back to it again next week.
What the boat say Space Jam 1? We need your help.
You know what? I'm going to get that clip, and that's what I'm going to come up, Dennis, play that every week at the end when we make it again. And then this is going to be all over Everything Media Philadelphia. Once he comes, this is going to be part of the reason. I'm just letting everybody know this is going to be a big part of it when LeBron has his bags and he's in Philadelphia with the Sixers. Quickly here now, Jason, a few more things. We'll stay with basketball here first. Caitlin Clark has been the topic of discussion. Matthew and I had a conversation about that last week. Just quickly going to refer back to it here today for a different reason. It came out over the weekend. Caitlin Clark will be left off the 12-woman USA roster for the Olympics here in 2024. She obviously came out publicly and said it's, she's going to be rooting for them. Not a big deal. She's, all good, whatever. The coach from the Indiana Fever received a text message that said that they woke a monster. So she's obviously using that as motivation. And I think that's great. And I think she should, use it as motivation, but I don't think it's a big deal being left off the roster here, even as Caitlin Clark, as the number 1 overall pick. You got 12 studs on that roster for the Olympics. So again, I don't think it's much to worry about. I think obviously it would have been nice if you're Caitlin Clark to be on the team, but I don't think it's that big of a deal here in her rookie year. What do you think?
No, she shouldn't be on the team. I mean, she's played in college. Like, yeah, she's the biggest name and the main attraction right now, but she's struggling with the physicality of the WNBA. International ball is 10 times more physical. Like, what do you expect? Like, she would get bullied on an Olympic team in practice first and then during the games. Like, no. She doesn't
and again, going back to some of the, the hard fouls or stuff, I could have gone either way. Yeah, it was a hard foul, whatever. I'm way on the other side here on this one. I just don't see why the public has to be so angry about her being left off the Olympic roster. Again, there are 12 very good players on that team. And again, she's, of course, number 1 overall pick. We expect there to be this offensive explosion. And she's had some really good games. She has, 30 per performance the other day. But again, it's going to take time. Matthew and I talked about it last week on the show. She's not going to be, Breanna Stewart this early and it just, whatever year. Breanna Stewart's now 29 years old. It took her some time to be as good as she is. It takes everybody a little bit of time, no matter how good you are. I don't think it's a big deal. Focus on, if you want, 2028. She'll be on the team then. I think in a couple of years, we'll see what we saw in the number 1 overall pick, but it's going to take some time. You got to learn the game. It's not going to be easy as soon as you step into her rookie year, and we're all seeing that.
Here's the thing. She shouldn't be on the roster, but they already announced that she would be an alternate if anyone gets due to injury.
Yeah.
They announced that already today.
Which makes sense, I guess, right?
But also, if there's an argument for a spot on the team, and this might go viral, if there was an argument for her being on the team, she should probably be on the team over Diana Taurasi. That's probably the only person I could see her replacing, only because of the fact that this is like Tarazi's 5th Olympic squad,
Yeah, maybe more.
and
Maybe her last
Tarazi
though, potentially though.
and so she's going for history. Her edition is more of a nostalgia versus
Yeah,
actual like production.
yeah, for sure. Like kind of like Haslam on the bench of the Heat.
Yeah, well, not I won't not that big.
You're
Um,
right. I went to
no. So Tarazi's edition is similar to Larry Bird on the '92 Dream Team.
That's a good analogy.
He's on his way out, but still a big name, that kind of thing. So
Yeah,
that's the addition of Taraji to this team. But if that's the only player, other than that, no.
yeah, I'm with you. I agree with you 100% there. So again, not a big deal getting left off the team. Again, I don't know if she's ready just yet to make that 12-woman cut. So again, Caitlin Clark left off. Not a big deal in our opinion. We will move on. Again, speaking of Team USA and Kelsey Plum and some more of she made the team, but she's recently single, going through some stuff there with Darren Waller. So we got to just get your opinion here, Jason. And we're only going to spend a
God,
few minutes on it because it came out yesterday. His intent is now to retire. 31 years old. He is calling it a career. 1 year with the Giants is, and again, maybe some mental health issues. I do not want to make light of any mental health issues he's having or anything like that. We don't know the story or what he's going through, but can Daniel Jones do that to a person in just 1 year? You go to New York and
yes.
then that and that's it. If you've seen them, if you haven't seen the music video, look it up, watch it. An interesting music video. Just hope that he's doing well personally, but we are not going to see Darren Waller, at least as it seems right now, for the rest of his career. Could be over, retiring from the NFL. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying not to say for so much on this
Yeah.
because I
Oh,
do
tough
believe
situation.
no, because I do believe mental health is involved in this decision.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so
Um,
too.
from injuries that he's always dealt with to the divorce and to playing in New York. Like honestly, I think those are the three factors. So yeah, I mean it sucks.
Yeah.
I
I mean, again,
mean, but
he made his story is such an incredible story, what he was able to go through and overcome and, be a Pro Bowl player for the Raiders. And then obviously, play, average in his time with the Giants here last year, but obviously something bigger going on. So we wish him the best, but losing a big tight end in the National Football League. So
yeah, I mean he was one of the top 10 titans in football even as recently as 3, 4 years ago. So I mean, yeah.
Giants going to have to look elsewhere then. Leave Saquon and Darren Waller now in the same off season, but they do get Malik Neighbors. So maybe we'll see how that goes.
Can Daniel Jones throw the ball to him?
That's going to be the question. That's going to be the question as we go forward. Just to talk now a little bit about the NFL. The preseason schedule was released, Jason, a little bit last week. It's going to get started with the Hall of Fame game on August 1st. The Texans and the Bears. So early look at Caleb Williams, Romo Dunze, and the Chicago Bears in the opening of the playoffs on August 1st. How excited are you to get the NFL season back underway here in just a few months? Already talked about the preseason here in
Man,
June.
I'm still in NBA mode, so I ain't even thought about football just yet.
As a Celtics fan, that's not surprising.
But no, but honestly, that's a great opening game for the preseason at Tom
Mhm.
Benson Stadium. You get to see the retooled Texans with Stephon Diggs
True,
out
that's right.
there, with CJ Stroud. You also get the Ravens and Eagles first game of preseason again this year in Baltimore prior
That's
to
right.
the 12-1 game. But yeah, I mean the preseason matchups for everyone looks pretty solid. I'm interested to see how the Jets bring back Aaron Rodgers.
Think he plays any snaps?
I think he has to.
It's gonna be interesting to see how they do that.
I
I'm not
think
sure. I'm
I
not
don't know
sure
if
if he
they
will.
I don't know if he will, but I think he
I think he should too.
my thing is he's already at an advanced age. It was like 40 now. So like I think the more game reps you get him prior to the season, he's not being rushed out there. And I think that's been his problem the last 5, 6 years because he doesn't play preseason games anymore. So he's going out there week one, depending on talent alone and just feel. And no, your body's getting older. You need the actual reps, the physical movement, the actual hits to your body, all the action to get warmed up. He's like Cap from Any Given Sunday before Jamie Foxx took his spot. He get warmed up in the game. That's what you need. So he has to play. The team for me, outside of obviously, the Ravens, we ain't gotta go there today. Um, the team I like, sleeper team that I like, I'm interested to see what preseason looks like for them. I want to see how the Commanders look in preseason. I think they had a pretty good draft and a pretty good offseason overall. I want to see
Yeah.
what that team looks like.
And again, Commanders, the big team, new ownership. Obviously, the biggest news in years over in Washington. They get Josh Harris, who you know what? I may make. What do you think about this? We don't say Josh Harris's name on the program here going forward. Do you think that's appropriate?
I mean,
I don't
that's
like
a,
Josh Harris. I don't think an owner can own the Devils, the Commanders, and then the Sixers. I don't think you can have
yeah,
three
yeah, yeah,
different
you
reasons.
can. You got owners that own multiple teams, different sports, not in the
Yeah,
same. Yeah,
I
they
don't
have it all
like
the
it
time.
though. I think that's right. I don't think you can have a rivalry team. All three of those teams are rivals of each other in different sports. I think that's
Hey,
absurd. I don't know. I just
it's,
think that's absurd. Either way, he's much, a beam of sunlight in Washington for what they've dealt with over the last however many years. So they are excited. They get their guy in Jaden Daniels, number two. They get their offensive coordinator in Cliff Kingsbury. A big switch going on in Washington this year. You just talked about how you like him, Jason. Over under is set at 6.5 games. Seems a
oh,
little low for
they're
Washington.
going to
And
September.
what do you think? Are you over on the over?
I am bullish on the over. I'm bullish on the over.
6.5.
They can win. They honestly can win 9 or 10 games this year.
It's juiced to the under too. The favorite is the underdog here.
No, they can win. I think they were going to be between 8 and 10 wins. Honestly,
I like what they're again. Washington, it seems like every couple of years does figure it out and get going. We know there's
yeah, they
been
get
no
going. Like they have
division winner, right?
yeah,
In
yeah,
that division in years. So you can throw out the Cowboys next year because that just doesn't happen in the NFC East. I think it might be. I'm not saying the Commanders win the division. I'm going to pick the Eagles to win the division, but you never know. We've seen them come out and win that division in years when they haven't been predicted to do anything.
yeah. So yeah, I like what Washington will do inside that division, and we play them too this year. So we play the
That'd be a
NFC
fun
East.
matchup, huh? Lamar versus Jaden.
Yeah, we play the NFC East this year. So you know,
So 6.5 seems low there
yes,
in that number, but let's jump to another number, and that's Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jason, we both were on them last year on the over. That hit, they made the playoffs. We had them as a playoff team. They ended up getting there. This year, today it was announced Mike Tomlin has signed a 3-year extension, so he'll be back for the next 3 years. Steelers fans gotta love that. And, one of the best coaches, if not the best coach remaining in the game today, has still yet to be under 500 for a season. But here we go, Jason. Another Vegas line for the Steelers that has them finishing below 500. 8.5 is the over-under here for the Steelers this year, plus money on the over 8.5. They are once again predicted to finish below 500. I'm not buying it at all. Again, give me the over on Pittsburgh again this year. Mike Tomlin does not finish below 500.
I'm not buying it whatsoever. When you add a Russell Wilson and you bring a Justin Fields into that roster with
Patrick
Tony
Queen.
and Patrick Queen, no, forget him now. He's a Steeler, so that's over with. Um, when you add those two quarterbacks to that roster, who can actually get the ball downfield to Pickens, to Freiermuth?
Taking a shot at Kenny Pickett?
Of course. I mean, didn't you guys pick him up? Trash. Anyway, but yeah, over. And honestly, the Steelers and Ravens will be battling for the AFC North crown.
I think we could see I think we could have 3 teams battling for it. Maybe 4. I think it's going to be so competitive again next year with Joe Burrow returning to Cincinnati. When Joe Burrow plays, the Bengals are one of the best teams in the AFC, and I think once again that they're going to have maybe even my pick to win the division. I don't know. We'll make our picks as we get to the preseason later on, a few months down the road, but I think it's going to be maybe the best division in football this year. Maybe
I mean,
again.
it has been.
Yeah.
It wasn't just this year. It's been prior to this year, the
Yep.
last few years. I
And
mean,
you could argue if Joe Burrow doesn't get hurt last year, we could be seeing maybe all 4 teams, and they
didn't get
almost
in.
did
Yeah,
make it anyway.
They almost have anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, who knows? Going to be interesting there.
You know what? Bold prediction.
Yeah.
All 4 teams will get in.
Oh, and yeah, and again, that was a point we talked about last year, and it would have been, I think, true if Joe Burrow hadn't got hurt in that game. Again, in our opinion, one of the best divisions in football. But I do want to talk one more team. You remember last year we talked about the NFC North, and Nobody gave any respect to the Lions. They said, guys, we got to talk about the Detroit Lions. They had a huge year. They end up going to the NFC Championship game. And I want to talk about another team in their division this year. It's going to be one of my, I want to call them sleeper teams because I think everybody's on board now. But I had the Lions with having a big year last year. And this year, I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers, Jason. I love what the Packers have been able to do. What I saw out of them last year, the way they were able to execute down the stretch. I still don't know how they lost that playoff game to the 49ers. I think they had a good shot to win that game. I think they're just going to get better and better, more healthy. They add Josh Jacobs. They add some people along that offensive line. Those receivers are young. They get another year now. I think they're all going to be improved. Romeo Dobbs, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson can somewhat stay healthy. Luke Musgrave, of course, Musgrave at tight end another year this year. So I like all their weapons. They add some guys defensively as well. I love some of those draft picks. They go up and they get Edgerrin Cooper, etc. Green Bay coming in at 9.5. So the number's not low. 9.5 on the over-under there in Green Bay in the NFC North. How do you feel about the Packers?
Oh yeah, that's over. That's
I love the Packers this year.
It's over, but I mean that the NFC North is going to be more competitive top to bottom than what people give it credit for.
Yeah, again, I'm with you this year, especially, and that's with Minnesota with Darnold and McCarthy. So we'll see how they do. And Kevin O'Connell and company always seem to figure it out.
I mean, I don't know about all that money that Justin Jefferson got, but
you missed our discussion about that last week. So while we're on the topic, Justin Jefferson, the most guaranteed money outside of a quarterback in NFL history, gets his 4-year huge deal. The point that Matthew and I made was, just in terms of fantasy, and stuff like that, statistics going forward, maybe Justin Jefferson slides down your rankings a little bit now with just the unknowing at quarterback, whether it's going to be McCarthy, Darnold. Either way, are they going to be able to perform even average this year? And Kevin McConnell is one of the best, quarterback guys in the league. He's proven that. He puts his guys in maybe one of the best positions, to succeed at anyone. We saw what they were able to do with those guys last year, almost making a run, into the playoffs with Jaron Hall and Josh Dobbs as quarterbacks in Minnesota. So McCarthy, if he is going to start or is going to play, is going to be in a great situation. But in terms of Justin Jefferson, yes, you get that big deal, but maybe those stats aren't going to be as big as you're used to now without Kirk Cousins.
I'm not. I don't know what it is. Minnesota giving out crazy money. Like they just like printing their own money, I guess, and give it to their players. I don't like the deal. I don't think any wide receiver should be getting that much. That's just my honest opinion. I don't think any wide receiver is worth that. It's because you can't throw the ball to yourself and catch it too. The money has to be spread around. And if you could spend that kind of money just on Justin Jefferson, you could have split that money up into bringing back Kirk Cousins on a 1-year deal at least.
And again, Justin Jefferson, he is young. You're going to have him in a contract for the next 4 years. But say J.J. McCarthy isn't the guy that you drafted him to be, or maybe you have some doubts, then you're in a whole nother situation where you need a quarterback for one of the best receivers in the league. Again, he signed that deal. We thought maybe that it would, maybe he wanted to be a free agent. A lot of rumblings about him to Cincinnati. If T. Higgins were to leave, maybe playing with Joe Burrow, and imagine what he'd been able to do there. But he's happy in Minnesota. He gets the money he wanted. Now we'll see if the success comes with it. It's going to be tough with that quarterback situation there. And again, the defense as well.
It won't. Success is not going to come with it. It won't. I mean,
maybe Justin Jefferson will be known as the money guy, but maybe not a lot of wins coming his way.
He'll be requesting a trade in 2 years. A la another former Vikings great, Stephon Diggs. It's going to be the same situation.
Stephon Diggs, of course, now in use. I'm going to give you one more here, Jason, in terms of an over-under before we close out our NFL segment. It's going to be one of those other lower teams. Let's talk or two more. I'm going to give you number one, the New England Patriots. They'll have the lowest over-under out of any team this year, coming in set at 4.5. Drake May, obviously the third overall pick of the draft, not looking like he was going to be the starter for week one. Jacoby Brissett, most likely going to be the guy under center for however many weeks to start the year. They got a low one, 4.5. One of the worst teams maybe we've laid our eyes on last year with the way that they were playing. What do you think about New England this year?
It's going to be over because Brissett can win you at least 6 games.
So you think, how many games do you think Brissett starts during the year?
He starts like 7 or 8 games. Yeah.
You think it could be? I think it could be maybe more than that.
Yeah, but at least first half of the season. But he can win you at least 5 or 6 games by himself. I mean, he's proven that on every team he's been on to come in and steady the ship while the incumbent stars hurt, or be the starter from the outset himself. We saw it when he was in Indy, and we saw it in Cleveland. So he can win you a few games. He's more than serviceable.
Absolutely. I would argue again one of the better backup quarterbacks
Yeah, he
in
really
the
is.
league for sure.
He really
Former
is.
Florida Gator did transfer to NC State. Won't hold it against him
Oh, you know,
for Jacoby
can't
Brissett.
keep your own folks, huh?
But let me ask you another one, and that's Denver. Denver coming in 5.5 wins. The 12th pick in the draft was Bo Nix. A lot of people had Bo Nix later on their big boards, maybe in the 30s, some even in the 40s. I had him lower as a second round grade. In my big board, he goes 12th overall to Denver. Sean Payton, though, has talked glowingly about Bo Nix here through offensive and rookie OTAs and rookie minicamp. They said he is obviously 61 starts in college. He said the offense has been coming to him very easily, very naturally. He said he understands everything. He's Sean Payton saying a step ahead of the ball game in Denver. So he's been talking some very good things about Bo Nix and the Broncos. Are you buying that and the 5.5 over under?
Hell no. No. They're
So
going to be
under.
the worst team in football.
Oh, they were bad last year. And again, the defense did turn around towards the end of the year. Quarterback play, though, couldn't find it anywhere. Russell Wilson, again, was pretty good, but obviously some crazy stuff going on down the stretch. They wanted to cut him, wanted to take the injury clause out. We don't have to resurface all that happened with Russell Wilson in
Yeah,
Denver.
that's the reason why. I mean, you can't run a team like that. You run out a Hall of Famer. You run him out of town for pretty much for no real reason. You didn't cater the offense to a skill set. You just threw anything out there, and you wonder why you didn't win any games. Sean Payton has been a joke. He's only been good because of Drew Brees. And you saw that, and you're still going to see it. And the Denver Broncos, top to bottom, have been a poorly mismanaged franchise for like since the Peyton Manning Super Bowl era. So, I mean, they did Tebow dirty. They brought in Peyton Manning. They did
Yeah,
Tebow won a
they
playoff
got
game.
him. I got the picture right behind me. They did him dirty.
Like
They
I
did.
mean, if we're gonna be honest, you can keep that touchdown Jesus. There you go. But no, the Broncos are a poorly ran franchise. Ever since Pat Bowlen ownership and that situation and everything, it's been crazy there. But they're gonna go probably. I'll give you a record right now. They're gonna go 3-14.
3-4. And again, the number is 5.5. That's what it's sitting at. So basically,
Under,
you're
under, under.
betting. Again, this is pretty much what it comes down to, in my opinion. You're kind of betting on Bo Nix, right? So Bo Nix is what Sean Payton says he is, or even above average. They're going over that number. But if he's Bo Nix, the guy that we have ranked in 30s and 40s, and takes him a little bit to get going, I don't think they win 6 games.
It's not even that. Everybody's good in practice against in 7-on-7. When you play against other NFL defenses, like he played in.
Oh yeah, that's for sure.
He played in the Pac-12. There's no
Well,
defense
he
playing
played
the
in the
Pac-12,
SEC and the Pac-12.
but the SEC and his numbers weren't as good in the SEC. He
For
played against
sure, yeah.
NFL type defense in the SEC.
Yeah.
You saw his numbers at Auburn. He was solid, but wasn't great.
Yeah, that's true.
So he's gonna play that type of defense every game, but with proven NFL stars on the other side. So that's my thing with him. The defenses that he played against the last 2 years, he's going to see essentially a 5-star recruit at every position in the NFL on defense. So you're going to have linebackers who run 4.4s. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have you're going to have safeties who are 6'2", 240 who can smack you in the hole as soon as you hand the ball off. Like that's what you're going to see in the NFL. You didn't see that in the Pac-12.
We're going to find out. Again, they took him early. Let's see if he's the guy that they took him to be. If so, again, supposed to be the future starter for the Denver Broncos going forward for however many years. So we'll see how he does. Again, that's what makes this preseason, or is going to make this preseason, so much more fun, is seeing a lot of these rookie offensive players, with their first reps out here, in the National Football League. You got time for one more, Jason? You want one more throw at you?
Yeah, we good. Yeah, come on, man. Keep it rolling.
All right, we're going to stick now. We're going to head over to the NFC West and the Seattle Seahawks. So Geno Smith coming back, most likely going to be the starter there. They get Ryan Grubb, the offensive coordinator from the Washington Huskies, to come over, as well as the offensive line coach from Washington. Seattle sitting at 7.5 as the over-under. They lose their offensive coordinator to Chicago, and Coach Waldron would now be coaching Caleb Williams. Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks over-under at 7.5. Jason, what do you think about Seattle this year?
Oh, that's over. Denver wins 7 games. Seattle wins 7 games in their sleep.
Oh, This one's tough for me. I'm not sure. I know the division has been pretty good the last couple of years. I
Who?
think
The Rams ain't been good
losing,
last couple years.
they were gonna be a playoff team.
Yeah, but they lost Aaron Donald.
Yeah, they got Stafford back healthy. I think those guys that they drafted last year are going to be
What does
that much
that
better for
mean?
a second year
What
player.
does that mean?
What?
What does Stafford being back mean?
I think they're going to be good. If he's back healthy, I think they'll be good to go. I think they go. I want to get the Rams over under here for you, 8.5. So that's one game over Seattle. I like the over for the Rams, and give me
That
the under on Seattle.
that division isn't going to be good outside of San Fran. Sorry, it's just not.
I am excited to see Marvin Harrison Jr. Not for that the Cardinals are going to be good, but I am excited to see Marvin Harrison.
Well, that's the thing, though. The Cardinals could be the sleeper and be some crazy worse than first.
Wouldn't that be? That would be something.
I mean, because you'll have Kyler Murray healthy for a whole season. Hopefully.
Hopefully, yes. I hope. Come on, Connor. Let's go.
So when he was healthy for a full season, they made the playoffs.
The defense can turn it up as well, and then you get Kyler back for a season. You got Trey McBride now with Marco Wilson. Maybe has a good year. Michael Wilson, excuse me, at receiver, and Marvin Harrison Jr. is the guy we think he is. Him and McBride are going to be two very good pass catchers in that offense. James Conner's back. That offensive line plays well. The offense could be good in Arizona. We'll see. Their over-under is set to the 5th worst at 6.5. I know you may have referred to them as a sleeper team. Vegas, again, doesn't think so, but we've seen these things go the complete opposite directions each and every year. No one really knows. What do you think about the 6.5?
I'll take the over the 6.5 for Arizona. I'll take the over on Seattle 7.5, and I'll take the under on
Rams 8.5.
Rams.
Yeah, there we go. We knock out the NFC West pretty easily here as we get through some of these over-unders. So we kind of touched on everything over the weekend. Jason, the Celtics up 2-0. Game 3 coming on Wednesday. I know we don't talk a lot of hockey. The Panthers a 1-0.
I'm watching that.
Nothing lead.
I'm watching.
I'm still holding that ticket for the Panthers to win the Stanley Cup. So go Panthers here. Got to finish off the Oilers, but game 2 tonight. Do you have it on right now?
Yeah, I have the Panthers winning the Stanley Cup. I do.
So they're on. The game 2 is underway as we speak. We got underway 8:00 between the Oilers and the Panthers. So a 1-0 lead for the Panthers in that series back in Florida for game 2 tonight. Baseball coming up this weekend, Jason. We got the Orioles and the Phillies finally going to meet in Camden Yards on Saturday. I'm actually going.
Oh, I did not know the game was
going to the game.
So I went last year. I went last year in Citizens Bank. Yeah. So
it's going to be fun. Again, I know a World Series that we're hoping to see. Would love.
I had to talk offline, good brother.
World Series.
Talk offline.
Good. We talked about it. I believe on the opening day of baseball. We both said we'd love to see a Phillies Orioles World Series. Well, we'll see. We're going to be a fun weekend there in Baltimore with that. But Jason, closing words. Of course, a first week of fatherhood here in the last week with Deuce back at home. Great to see you back at home and able to join the show. And closing words here for a Monday, June 10th edition of DETV Sports.
Closing words are not sports related. Tonight be a little bit more retrospective, if you will. I'll tell everyone to never stop chasing your dreams. What you think is denied is actually just delayed. So keep pushing forward, and everything you want eventually will come true with hard work, dedication, and keeping the faith. That's all I got.
Absolutely. Those are phenomenal words to end the show on for sure. We're going to clip that, get that out to the masses tomorrow. Some words there from Jason. Jason, phenomenal show. Thank you so much, as always, for all of us here at DETV. Jason taking the time to join us back after a big week. Again, our prayers to Matthew and what he's dealing with his family here tonight. And a special thanks to Dennis, as always, for putting us together, getting us up and running. And, of course, finishing out another edition here of DETV Sports on a Monday. So for Jason McCall, Dennis Pritchett, and myself, as well as Matthew Maurer, we will see you next Monday. Could the series be over by then, Chase?
Possibly.
Oh, man, who knows? We'll find out. We'll talk about it if it is next Monday's show. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We will see you next week.